guys, and welcome to our first GamingUp interview, where we are talking with indie developers from around the world about their newest released video game, and of course, getting to know the person behind that game. Today, I'm joined by Chris Chancey from ManaVoid Entertainment, but I think you can introduce yourself way better than I could.
So yes, my name is Christopher Chancey. I am the CEO and president of ManaVoid Entertainment, and I wear all of the hats that I need to wear to make games happen. So I've worked on the creative parts also of this game, creative direction, a little bit of writing here and there, some design. But yeah, today mostly my job is to make sure that we have the resources at ManaVoid to be able to make the great big worlds that we let our players play in.
All right, so we are just going to talk in the first part of the interview about the personal self, so our audience knows or get to know you better. And after that, we are talking about the game the people can see in this interview later. But before we talk about your game, just let's talk about you. And I did some research about you and found your LinkedIn account. And on that account, you say that game creation has always been a passion since your childhood. How did this become a passion for you, and in what way did this passion express itself?
I was always an introspective kid. I was very shy when I was young, so I played a lot of video games. I started off with the first NES system, playing games like Mario, and then my parents bought me the Super Nintendo, and I remember playing a game called Another World, or Out of This World, which was like a kind of a action adventure game that existed back then. It was extremely difficult, like most games were back then. And yeah, I was really interested in these great big worlds that you could just get immersed in and kind of, just have fun with. Played pretty much all of the Nintendo games, got really interested in RPGs, Final Fantasy. And then as I grew older, I became more of a competitive gamer. So, I played Hearthstone competitively. I played Dota 2 competitively. I played StarCraft Brood War extremely competitively back in 2002, 2003. I was playing in the top 3,000 in the world. So yeah, those are the kinds of games that I used to play, and obviously less of that today. I don't have the time for it. But yeah, that's kind of where the passion grew. And one of the games that really changed my life, I'd say, is a game called World of Warcraft that most people probably know.
Definitely, yes.
I was about 15 years old when I started playing that game, and it was like the first time that it was an open kind of great big world that I was experiencing. So I thought that was just really incredible, and really quickly I became guild leader and I became raid leader, and I started, at 15 years old, I was telling like 40-year-olds what to do in raids and stuff. And it really
well, you got the experience.
Yeah, exactly. It really developed like my communication, developed leadership skills, like knowing how to like motivate people, and like all of these little soft skills that you need to develop in life. I think I really got through video games. So it kind of showed me that video games are a medium that can teach you a lot of things, not just how to have fun, but also how to like behave in life. So
yeah,
that's kind of my gamer journey.
I think it's really underrated how games itself and also movies and all this stuff can influence people. I think most of the people video games are playing just a little bit, but it's far more. It's teaching, it's friendship, and like you said, getting to know how to communicate properly, motivate people itself, and all this kind of stuff. So I think there's way more behind gaming and movies and all this stuff than most of the people think. You said that you take a lot of time into World of Warcraft. Was this your favorite game, and why did it become your favorite game?
It was not my favorite game, but it was like one of the important games, probably one of the that I put the most time in back then. No,
How much
I would
time?
say, probably thousands of hours.
Oh, okay.
I must have played that game. No, my favorite game was probably Final Fantasy VII. Everyone knows the Final Fantasy VII death scene with Aerith, and I think that scene really taught me that there's a lot of emotion that can like pass through games. I have it tattooed on my arm, like that scene, and I have moments that I have tattoos all over my body.
If you want, you can show us your tattoo.
Oh god, I'm gonna try, but it might not look great. But yeah, it's Cloud putting
It looks good.
Aerith in the water, and
Yeah.
then I have the Tyrell Diablo which one is this here? Tyrael shedding his wings in Diablo 3. I have the Link versus Dark Link on my arm as well, and
Yeah.
like Ocarina of Time. So like, you know, all of these like little moments in video games that really like punched me in the heart, like in like, you know, I felt something at those moments. Those are all things that I remember and that I want to keep remembering. So these are like the games that really, I think, shaped who I am today as a gamer. And I like to think about video games in terms of moments as well today. Like when we're creating, like we're trying to create moments where players are going to feel something important. And, you know, thinking it that way, I think, is a different angle to making games.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of creating games, did you had any idols that inspired you in the way you create games today?
I mean, in the Montreal ecosystem for video games is extremely mature. There's a lot of video game developers that come out of Montreal. When you think of Montreal for video games, everyone thinks of Ubisoft right away, and they're the biggest player here for sure. But there's over 300 studios now in the Quebec region, which is our province here. Probably 200 of those are in Montreal alone. So I'm always inspired by the creator and entrepreneur journey of all of the other studios that are around me. So yeah, I mean, you know, like Red Barrels is like they created an indie game that sold millions of copies. You know, it was a horror game called Outlast, and you know, talking with them about their process was super interesting. And you know, you have like all of these success stories that come around. Panache Studios came out with Ancestors. I'm good friends with the developers there, and you know, like talking about the process through, like everyone you speak to has something to give you in terms of of knowledge of what to do and what not to do. And it's a very collaborative ecosystem to make video games here. So I would say like pretty much every studio I've ever met in Montreal are my idols. Like I love talking video games, and everyone's making just insane games. Also Sabotage Studio, who's in Quebec City, that made a game called The Messenger.
Mhm.
You know, they're making a new game called Sea of Stars. I speak with Philip over there, who's one of their the marketing head, and he's like one of the most brilliant people I know. And like, you know, all of these people that can really just give you a lot of juice when you're thinking about making games.
Yeah, I think the talk with friends and or other game developers is a huge part, like you said, and it's good to hear that that you are really talking about. So it's not like you are fighting each other. It's more like, yeah, we are a community. We share our experience to make other game developers better in their process and not doing the same mistakes like we did. It's good to hear. Since you are the president and CEO of ManaVoid Entertainment, what are your specific tasks in these two things?
So my job is really to make sure we have the financing for our projects, and to make sure that, you know, we have all of the human resources for them. So my job every day is basically to extinguish the fires when there are issues, and to make sure that we have all the resources we need to make the games. So that would mean we start a project, you know, making sure that we have all of the right people, you know, right off the bat, designers, programmers, you know, artists, all of that stuff. Then, you know, once the game production is kind of, the pre-production is done, making sure that, you know, we hire all of the people that we need to hire to make sure that we hit our milestones. You know, talking with publishers and different financiers to make sure that, you know, we have the money to make the game. You know, coordinating with marketing, all of that kind of stuff are things that are on my day-to-day. And, you know, representation. So I always go to events like Gamescom in Germany, or, you know, GDC in San Francisco, and make sure I speak with everyone, try and, you know, create partnerships, trying to create, you know, as much value as possible for the company, put ourselves out there as much as possible as well, which is why I love doing interviews like this, because, you know, it allows us to like shine in areas of the world that, you know, we're not necessarily known in. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We are definitely welcome. It's good to talk to you. So it sounds like you are really deep into this kind of presenting the company itself. How much time, or what would you say? What does more take of your time, to lead the company or your studio, be part of the game creation process?
To lead the studio takes a lot more time. At this project specifically, and started in 2018, but in 2019, I used to be creative director on it, and I gave those tasks to my associate Anthony Vaucherer Rosabal. He's the brain behind this, and Alexis Lessal, which is the technical director, but he also like put a lot of input into the creative part. Everyone in the team really put input into the creative part, but I became a bottleneck for decision making because I was taking care of all of the administration of the company, and suddenly I had no time to take care of the creative parts of the game. So I stopped really like about a third of the way. I stopped taking care of creative because we were scaling the company, and I just needed to take care of all of the other stuff.
Yeah, you can't be the guy who's doing all this stuff. So you definitely need some people you can rely on, and still, yeah, having the same good game at the end like you would make out of it.
Yeah, and I think it's healthy for any video game company to have, you know, part of the brains that are taking care of the creative side and part of the brains that are taking care of the money and production side. Because if I just left the creative side alone, like we would still be working on this game for another 2 years. So at some point, you need to have a balance there so that you make sure that, you know, you're able to ship quality products in a specific amount of time, because then, you know, like costs for making video games like skyrocket really quickly. So, you know, it's always kind of balancing, you know, the milestone schedule with the awesome game that you want to come out with. And what I'm happy to like say with this game is this is the vision that we wanted to put out there. Like we didn't compromise. We really like, you know, took the time with this game. And it's one of the first times in my career I've had the chance to do that.
That's really great. Speaking of balancing, besides ManaVoid Entertainment, do you also have other projects you're working on?
So I do a lot of things in the Montreal ecosystem for video games. So on top of ManaVoid, I teach in 2 different universities, video game programming, video game design, and entrepreneurship in video games. So we have a program here where we teach young studios how to, you know, take care of payroll and, you know, how to finance a project, make a budget. It's not sexy stuff, but it's really necessary when you want to start a studio. So I teach in 2 different universities, which allows me also to see, you know, the up and coming students, what they're thinking, you know, what their passion is about, like what ideas they have. So it keeps me like young. I think in a way it keeps me on my toes to know what's like, you know, popular in video games. On top of that, I also created with my partners, Pascal Nataf and Kim Bertium. We created an incubator accelerator called the Montreal Indie Asylum. And the Montreal Indie Asylum is a group of, you know, studios that banded together to be able to have all of the services that you would get at a big company like a AAA, but, you know, by having small studios. So, you know, we're 7 companies in the Indie Asylum, and we mutualize services like, you know, human resources, finances, and all of that stuff to be able to help each other get better, you know, and exchange information as well. Like if ever there's an issue with programming, like, you know, there's 120 developers in the Indie Asylum that we can talk to. So, you know, it fixes issues a lot more quickly. Also, like we invest in young companies. So, you know, we invested in a company called Chasing Rats Games. We invested in a company called Low Birth Games, so, you know, we're helping young startups to be able to start their projects. And then we put them in contacts with like our network of people. So, you know, publishers and stuff like we know throughout the years. ManaVoid's existence since 2014. So in the past 8 years, I've met a lot of people in the industry. Like I know how to finance projects and all of that stuff. So bringing like young studios in, teaching them like all of the mistakes that we did so that they don't make the same ones, and then helping them position their company, finance their stuff, and you know, start their entrepreneur journey a little bit more easily than when we did it back in 2014. That's kind of the objective of the Indie Asylum. And the last thing that I do is we created a cooperative here in Quebec called La Guilde du Jeu Vidéo du Québec. So it's like the Video Game Development Guild of Quebec. And I am the vice president of that cooperative. So my biggest member is Ubisoft. My smallest member is a 1-person studio, like making games on their spare time. And basically, we try and collaborate all together to try and understand how we can help the industry locally grow, speak with governments, offer services to everyone, like QA and all of that stuff with rebates and stuff. We make events as well, like the Montreal Expo Gaming Arcade and the Montreal International Game Summit that's happening in November, by the way. If anyone's interested, we have like a bunch of speakers and stuff. So yeah, that's also something that I do. And in my spare time, I sleep. I just try and breathe and sleep. That's
the last free time you got is sleeping.
I have a very understanding girlfriend, let's just say.
Yeah, that's really important in this part of the process. So we get to know you a little bit better and saw that you got really, really many projects. So I guess you don't have that much free time to play still video games, or do you find still a little bit of time to really play games?
I don't sleep much, so like in between the times that I work and where I'm not with my girlfriend, I try and put in some gaming time. In general, what I'll do is I'll buy a popular game or I'll buy something that intrigues me. I'll play for 30 minutes to an hour and I'll try and like get from the game why I think it's fun or why like I'm going to try and understand like what the appeal to the game is. That's the designer in me that needs to break games down and understand why they work and why they don't work. So
So
I
you're
play
still
like a
working.
lot of games, but like only 30 minutes is kind of my pattern. And then once I understand the fun part of it, I understand where the creator was going with it. I understand what's fun about it. Then I'm like, okay, great. And I move on to the next game so that I can stay on top, because this is an industry that grows really quickly. Like a lot of these studios are innovating, so I want to be on top. I want to like understand why everything is functioning. I want to understand what like the new practices are, and I also get inspired by a lot of other like developers and what they're making. So I try and stay as up to date as possible on what's popular in video games. But yeah, I don't have that much time anymore, so it's like 30-minute bits of where I try new games, and then I have to move on. I don't like I installed the Final Fantasy VII remake, and I knew that it was like a 50-hour experience, so I played like that game. I played like 5 hours, and then I
Mhm.
stopped playing because I was like, I can't put the other 40
Yeah.
hours in. And it was like just making me sad. So I stopped playing that game and I moved on to other things.
So we definitely could say, even if you are still have free time and play, you are still working. To be honest,
Yeah,
because like you said, you are looking at the game and try to analyze it a little bit, and yeah, taking your own things out of it and create new games. So we
yeah,
could say
it's
you're still
working, but
working.
it's still fun. Like I'm enjoying myself. Like I don't suggest anyone work as many hours as I do, because I think it's difficult to do that. But I still I'm blessed to be able to work in the video game industry and have some level of success and be able to like do what I do every day and love what I do every day. So I'm not complaining here. Like I love what I do. So just to make sure that everyone knows, like I think hard work is, there's no substitute for it. So sometimes you just need to put the hours in when you want to be good at something. But at the same time, like working in video games is just amazing. Like it's the best thing in the world. Like every day doesn't feel like I'm going to work. It just feels like I'm going to play.
Yeah, that's great. If you love your job, it doesn't feel like hard work, even if it's hard work. Like we could all
Yes.
judge from all the things you already told us. So you're definitely someone who's still who's always working, but you are enjoying it.
Yes.
All right, let's talk a little bit about your game now. It's called Rainbow Billy: The Curse of the Leviathan, and it was released on the 5th of October. What can you tell us about the game?
So Rainbow Billy: The Curse of the Leviathan is a 2.5D adventure RPG, where you play a character named Billy. You start in a black and white world, and your objective is to bring color back to this world. So that's kind of like the overview. We decided to make this game extremely positive and wholesome and non-violent. That was something that we wanted to really like put the focus on, and we wanted this game to be like for everyone, so for kids and adults. We tried to play the Disney line where like kids will love the game because of like it speaks directly to them, but any adults playing will understand certain jokes that kids won't. So we've tried to like find that right line, and so far the reviews have been really good. So we're extremely happy and proud of what we've done so far.
That really sounds great. I think we already seen some gameplay, uh, and I think you are really far into the game. I would say, because like you said, you're starting in a colorless world, and like I already see, and all our audience, you are still, yeah, you are colorful now, or your game is
Yeah.
colorful.
So basically, you play this the character Billy, and you have friends with you. Like this boat here is called Friendship, and basically, Friendship is bringing you in between these islands. So as you can see, some of these islands have been recolored, but some others have not. So this one here is in black and white. So each island you come into is guarded by a character. So we see the character on top there. So there's different like platforming elements to the game. you run around, like you collect resources. There's some puzzles. So right here we have the coconut puzzle. Usually this should break. Yes. So now like I've broken the tree trunk. I can go to this section. We have the bouncy flowers here. And then this is just a bouncy nightmare of trying to figure out where I need to go. This one here, maybe this one here. Oh, I got it. Oh,
Close.
I wish I had it first try. It would have been insane. My colleagues would have been so proud of me.
They are still proud on you.
You get to the top. So you start the game. You have one friend with you. You have one character in your team, and we've used color in many different ways in this game. So obviously, like, you know, the levels have colors. So right now it's in black and white. But when you enter a confrontation, so, you know, there's a dialogue with each character. Each character is going through something. It's either some like personal issue, sometimes it's mental health, sometimes it's something else. And we're trying to like to bring up some like subjects that are not usually seen in a video game. And we're trying to like explain them through the eyes of a child, which is also interesting. So it was a really big job of writing to make sure that we were, you know, like doing the right thing. Each combat in the like confrontation, I should say, in the game is unique. So all of the characters have, you know, specific mechanics and different things that they do. So as you can see here, you have two things that you can do at start. You can talk or you can listen. And so I try to talk to Jacopi here, and then he's going to ask me like a question, or he's going to like explain what his situation is. And then I need to answer the right thing. So we're trying to create empathy here. We're trying to listen. We're trying to have a positive interaction with these characters that are in black and white. And so you see Jacopi here doesn't like people who disrespect the environment. So this is Jacopi's issue. And so I'm just going to go through these dialogues to go quickly. And so when you're answering the right thing, you're recoloring the creature, or you're finding out what colors they need. So right now you can see that we added some green to the creature here and here. So in my hand right now, all of these capsules are like all of the characters that we've collected so far in the game. You can see that they all have different colors. Yeah. And so now I'm going to place them on the board to be able to execute after that a series of QTEs, and if I get them, I'll be able to recolor the creatures in front of me. So this little creature here is just a mob. He needs some red, brown, purple, and orange. So we're going to give him some red and orange here, and some brown. Here we go. So we'll only need purple for that person. And then for the rest, I don't know what I need. So I'm just going to put some different colors here and hope I get what I need. So maybe a little bit of purple, X, there we go. So I'm at the end of the game, so I have a lot of creatures and a lot of colors. And then you have these mini games that you need to execute in. The more creatures you have, I'm not very good at my own game. So the more creatures you have in your lane, the more you'll need to, the harder the QTE is going to be.
Oh, okay.
So you need to kind of sometimes be strategic with the moves that you're making. Did you have anything? So you had another green.
And so you slowly proceed in the game and building kind of friendship to this character.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, you know, the whole metaphor is you're trying to understand these characters. You're trying to understand their issues, understand their problems. And so you're trying to recolor them. When you manage to recolor them, you understand them fully, and then they come onto your team. And we're trying to just, you know, be a wholesome game where, you know, talking things through and having a bit of empathy is the solution always to your problems. That's kind of what we're going
definitely, for. Yes. That's how real life works.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's kind of how it goes. Once we recolor this creature, it will recolor the entire island, and then we'll be able to move on to another one, and so on and so forth. There's a storyline, obviously, throughout the game. There are like big bosses that you can compete with. There's a fishing mini game. There's a lot of things that we packed into the project, and you can also feed your creatures to level them up and obtain more colors. So we can tell that this one has 2 colors, has purple and the kind of indigo that was unlocked. And yeah, the more creatures you get, the more you can unlock them and do more colors in the game, and so on and so forth. until
And
you can defeat the Leviathan at the end and bring color back everywhere.
all right, and what would you say? How long would it take to complete the game?
Currently, it's about 15 hours for an average playthrough, so it's a pretty long game. Um, and depending on how much you're a completionist and you want to do 100% of everything in video games, it can go
That
up
sounds like me.
yeah, it can go up to 30 hours. About we've seen some people do a lot of a lot of hours into the game so far. So yeah, that's
So
it's
you're
fun.
getting a bit game if you are playing it.
Yes, absolutely. A bigger game than we wanted to make in the beginning, but that's how video game creation goes sometimes. You know, you have to follow the opportunities. So that's what we did.
Yeah, definitely. And how long did it took you to create this game?
So we started with a Kickstarter in 2018. And yeah, so it took about 3 years to make. When we started the game, there was about a 3-person team, and today we're over 30 in ManaVoid. So it's grown a lot, particularly during the pandemic. It was a challenge because we didn't know how to scale the company like during a worldwide pandemic. But yeah, I mean, we're just lucky to have been able to get all the financing we needed to make the biggest version of this game that we wanted to make. And yeah, it took a good 3 years of production to get where we are today.
Is this your first action adventure puzzler game, or did you already had any experience from other games you already created?
So it's our first one with ManaVoid. I personally have worked on another action adventure game called Mages of Mistralia. I was doing some marketing consultation for a company called Borealis Games. Great game, by the way. Go buy it. It's and yeah, so that was another big scale action adventure. Well, I would say mostly action adventure is right. There were some RPG elements to it as well, but so yeah, I got a bit of experience there and I've learned some things. But this is like a completely different game than that still, and there was a lot to figure out with this project specifically. Yeah, like every game is unique. Every game has their own opportunities. So sometimes, even with like the most experience, you still have so many things to figure out because you're trying new things. As indies, we're always innovating, so we're always doing things for the first time. So we had some experience, but we still had a lot to learn making this.
But the good thing is you are still already in contact with other game developers, and you are already always learning something from them. And the things you learn from them, you can take to improve the game. And maybe
Yeah,
there's someday one day a second part of it.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we just finished the combat here, and we're gonna recolor the island now. He's coming to our team. And so you have this like little bubble that pops up. Normally, when you're in your boat, so I finished the game. I'm really just doing the 100% run here. But normally, when you've finished the game, you haven't finished the game. In between islands, when you're not in a safe space, you have what we call rainbow fuel, and so your boat here can only go a certain distance.
Ah, okay.
So that's why you need to go from island to island and unlock these sections so that you can refuel and then be able to go on to the next one. So that's kind of how we've gated the progression in the game, so that you need to upgrade your fuel tank to be able to go from one island to the other.
I think it's a single player game, right?
It is. It's a single player game, and it's currently out on PC, Switch, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4.
Would you think in the future could be an update and make it a multiplayer game as well, or at least one game mode where you can build friendships?
Not for this one. No, like really need to think ahead of time how to make multiplayer in a game. Like the coding is completely different because there's a lot of things to consider. In the future, we're going to look at all of these multiplayer options. It could have been fun to have maybe a system where you can send items or letters to friends or stuff like that, or a little bit kind of like Animal Crossing, where you can maybe visit like a hub world or an island. But yeah, it's even more challenging to do multiplayer games, especially on all platforms. Like every different console works very differently, so it's sometimes not even possible to have the like cross platform play, or to do specific things. So depending on which consoles you're on, you kind of need to make choices. And so this is a single player game. Yeah.
All right. We are looking in the future and are awaiting for your other games. Just one last question. Which engine did you use to create this game?
We used Unity 3D to make this game. At ManaVoid, we have other projects in the pipeline that are unannounced right now that are going to be using Unreal. So we're not, platform specific company, but for this one, we used Unity. It had all the tools that we needed to be able to make it.
All right, so you are definitely open to other engines in the future and create new worlds with it and new stories.
Yeah, I think every game, you need to look at the game and then look at what the engines are offering you in terms of, optimizations and opportunities. So games that are more like, 3D focused or realism focused are usually a little bit better with Unreal because the rendering systems are better. Anything with multiplayer as well is better on Unreal, I would say. But then, anything that, needs to use 2D elements or like, UI heavily, I would say Unity is probably a better tool. Than anything mobile or VR, Unity is also a better tool. So depending on the game you're making, you can kind of pick and choose what the best engine is. But any engine can make any game. In the end, it's really just preferences.
But it's good that you are open-minded to use or other engines and not be just limited to one. Like you said, you can do some part of the game you can do better with another engine, and so you don't limit yourself.
That's good. I think it's important. Look at your game first and then choose the engine.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Is there anything left you want to show us about your game or maybe upcoming projects?
So I can't talk about upcoming projects yet, but I will send some stuff maybe sometime next year. Listen, I think we went through the big, the big gist of what the game is. We're really proud of the game. Our Metacritic score so far is of 80, which is more than we anticipated. So we're super humbled by the reception. Everyone's very positive about their experiences with the project. We're just really proud to have been able to ship something that is the complete vision of what we had in our minds. And now it's taking the next steps with this project. So patching little bugs that are here and there, maybe adding one or two new features. We're going to be looking at porting towards next gen and maybe new languages coming up, but yeah, we're just super happy to have been able to make this game and ship it to the world and see smiles on everyone's faces when they're playing it on YouTube, on Twitch, or wherever. We're super happy with the experience.
I'm also happy that you joined us today for this interview, and I wish you the best for the future. And have a good day and of course a good week.
Thank you very much.
Bye.